Many say it's the easiest tool ever to grade your driveway, but there are still some challenges. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on using a land plane. Let's get started. Now, why do we even need to grade our driveways? What's the point? I suspect people that don't have a stone driveway or gravel driveway don't even understand why we want to go out and play out in the rocks anyway. Well, I think there's two main reasons why one might want to grade their driveway. The first is to get rid of weeds, right? There's weeds along the side of this driveway that we can kind of chew up and grind up a little bit here and at least get their roots out on top so they won't continue to grow and just, well, look bad, quite frankly. The second reason is that in the tire tracks, the places where you run the tires most of the time, all those rocks can get mashed down. And when they get mashed down and it becomes bare, then when it rains, it throws mud up on your car. So it's nice to have some bigger, looser rocks up on top. One last reason may be more obvious, and that's to get rid of any chuck holes, any potholes that have come into your driveway over the winter or since you've last graded it. Let's start with the easy part. The simplest way to run a land plane is just drop it and go, right? There's really nothing to it. The rocks kind of come up over the back of the land plane there and just kind of boil over of sorts. And that gives you a nice, clean, finished look. So for the most part, you can just put it down and go and not worry too much about it. It's not always that easy. I'll show you that in a minute. But hey, let's enjoy the easy stuff for now.
I'm having to eat your dust.
That's your job. Now the challenge comes when you get to the end of your run. What do? Because you've done a really nice job thus far of bringing the rock and distributing them right over the back real nice, but now we have a hump right in front of our blade and we have this pile of rock that we don't know what to do with. Well, there's a couple of ways of handling. So the first way to handle this is to just intentionally leave a pile, okay? So we've raised it up here. We're going to leave this pile. I'll turn around. Now in this case, I'm going to get that pile of weeds out of there just so they're not irritating all of us. I don't really know what this stuff is, but it vines on driveways worse than anywhere else. But I'm going to drive right back over that pile and drop my blade right as I get to it. And we'll go from there and pull it right on through. So we'll take that same pile and get started in the other direction. Now this blade has scarifiers on it. By the way, this is a new brand coming to market here. It's called Tractor Basics. First of all, it's American made in Tennessee. And the intention is to be a step better than what you can get at a box store, but still at a similar price point. In this case, the land plane has scarifiers, and that allows it to dig a little more aggressive. My experience with the box blade in the past is that if you're on a hard driveway, you just can't quite get enough action. But these scarifiers really help that. Now in this case, I only have the outside two scarifiers down. And that's because the 1025R here really doesn't like having a 5-foot wide blade full of rock and all four scarifiers down. I've got them 1 inch below the surface, and in some conditions here you can actually see dark spots where the scarifiers are digging in. In other conditions, you can't quite tell. But I really like the scarifiers digging in where those tire tracks were and where any potholes were. One fun part of a land plane is that the more you run it, the better your driveway looks. So you can get a lot of seat time just out here thinking about whatever's on your mind and just keep running it back and forth on your driveway. It's even more true with the scarifiers. They just kind of keep running. It's just a lot more mindless than operating a box blade for a similar task. So here's the other way that you can handle the end of your pass. You can simply leave the blade down and turn right around the end. Right? This way you can keep your box full and you never face the biggest two problems of a land plane. Let me show you the two basic challenges with a land plane. The first is that when you first start out, it actually acts like a box blade. So when we take off here, it's going to grab all of the rock and it's actually going to kind of leave it bare behind the box blade because nothing is flowing over the blades themselves. See how that goes? So everything is bare here. This makes it kind of difficult to start until such time that your blade gets full and starts overflowing. So here we've ran maybe 25 feet and we just now have rocks going over the back of the blade. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is the opposite. When you get to the end of your pass, you have excess rock. Dealing with those basic challenges successfully will make you a land plane expert. Now in my specific situation, I've got excess rock right here. And this comes as a result of the whole redoing of my driveway last fall to raise it out toward the road. So I've got excess rock back there and pulling it this way won't hurt anything. The truth is I don't have much in it right now and I wish I had it full. But this is my first pass along this side of the driveway. It sometimes takes a couple passes to get the rocks broke up and loose and ready to roll. Literally ready to roll. Like Christy said, she has sprayed this along the side here so you can see some of these weeds dying. That's probably making them easier for me to pull out as we go along there. I don't think there is a perfect solution for separating your yard from your driveway. If you have one, let me know. But the last thing I want to do is put in some sort of a real border. But I really don't know how to get a good separation that'll stay clear all the time. But we're definitely breaking up some of those weeds here. Got a spot here that doesn't have much for rock. Okay, I'm going to use the spin around approach this time, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I've got my power top link. I'm going to extend my top link so that I'm actually leaving some of the rock. And you can see that that drags the tail into the blade, and that doesn't look very good either, right? So if you have your tail too far down, the tail into the blade leaves marks when you make that turn. I've got my power top link from agrastoreusa.com. Of course, there's a TTWT discount there. I really like this top link because it's got a check valve on it. I use the one that is 18 to 26 inches, retracted and extended. I think that's the perfect size for all of the tractors in my lineup. 1 Series, 2 Series, 3 Series, all of the Category 1 tractors, 18 to 26 works perfect. You don't have to have a power top link, quite frankly, for anything. But it sure does make it nicer for something like this. So for the rest of this episode, what I want to show you is how the land plane behaves differently with the top link extended and retracted. And that's certainly a lot easier for me to do having the power one than doing it manually. So let's start by retracting the top link a little more than, pretty exaggerated here. Now, what that's going to do for me is it's going to put my scarifiers in even deeper, make them more aggressive. And you can see that it's kind of plugged up the blade up there, but the back blade is not is not doing anything. So this is a pretty aggressive stance, I would say, for the land plane. It's digging in pretty hard with those scarifiers, and it's probably moving more rock this way than the other way. You can see the results of those scarifiers digging in. Maybe better, maybe worse, but you can see how it's working and evaluate for yourself. And I'm going to use the turnaround approach with it tipped forward. And you'll see that the tail end doesn't dig in here. In fact, it does a fairly good job, I think, of the turnaround. Like that. Okay, so now I'm going to put it back level, and you'll see the back blade begin to pick up. And here we go. So now it's behaving kind of normally again. Now, if you want to not run your scarifiers in the ground, you can tip your blade backwards. And this is a way of delivering gravel to an area that might be a little light. See, notice I've dumped the blade and I've dumped it very gradually. Okay? I like that. I think that's a nice approach. Now, of course, when I pick it up, it won't raise very high. It may not even raise high enough to get off the ground, but you can kind of see that approach. So what I may do is go back here to this area where it has too much rock, and I may use that same approach again. I may fill my box in that area, and then I'll bring it back down toward the camera and dump some of it here. So remember that first challenge, that when I first start, the blade picks up more and doesn't let anything out of it for several feet, right? Well, I'm using that feature to my advantage right here, right now. I'm grabbing that rock and I'm going to distribute it down here a little bit further. So this is a way to use the land plane for more than just stirring up the existing rock. You can actually use it. So here I go, I'm going to tip it back and essentially empty that rock gradually over a long period. See? Look at that. I love it. So here we go again, one more pass where we're going to pick up rock for several feet here. Start picking up some with the back blade just by putting it down a little bit more. And yeah, I'm losing rock over the back of each blade now. I recognize that, but I'm not ready to dump it yet. So I still have a blade full of rock here, right? Take a note of how nice it looks behind the blade. It looks like I'm some sort of a superstar rock spreader, right? Okay, now I'm going to begin to tip the blade forward, or tip it back, and dump it, because this is where I want to add the rock. Look at that. What could be better? Okay, so that's finished. That's success to me, and it just took a couple of minutes. And the main trick there was adjusting the top link and using the box blade's properties as features rather than as weaknesses. Now, I need to go back and fill up my box blade at the road where I have a little bit too much rock. If I start and fill up right here, then I'll lose all of my advantage that I just added by getting this rock put in there. Got a lot of weeds that have grown up here. The rock really probably isn't very thick here. Originally, I didn't think I wanted it out this far. So I'm going to see if Christy sprayed them, so they're probably going to be easy to get out here, but I'm just going to rake them up, I guess you might say. And then maybe when I get them down here to the camera, I can talk her into picking them up and throwing them aside. Bunch of them, huh? This Tractor Basics land plane has an adjustable, the two cutters are adjustable up and down. I've got them set at their most aggressive depth, basically below the side shoes. You can have them either like a ½ inch below the side shoes or up to, say, a ½ inch above the side shoes. I've got them below the side shoes. I tried it both ways, and I didn't like the side shoes doing all the scraping, right? It just didn't suit me. So that's how I'm running them. And you might be able to see the nuts on the outside of the blade there, and then the slots on the inside here allow those to be raised or lowered. I think handling the end of your driveway is the hardest part. I raised the whole level of the end of my driveway so that I wouldn't have a big ramp right at the end, and that's really helped. The ramp was, I would spin my wheels just a little bit as I go up the ramp, and that would continually pull the rock away. I'm not having that problem anymore, so that's a good thing. And now my situation is that I have what I think is too many rocks. I think my driveway is a little bit too high next to the road. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a perfectionist. It may be just about right. Basically, I'm about an inch higher with the rocks than what the edge of the road is. This is another time where I thought I would use that feature of the box blade where it wants to fill up to start with, to see if I could pull a few of those rocks away. I may have built the soil grade up too high here because there won't be a whole lot of rock left in there after I pull this off. In fact, you can see some mud there or some dirt. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. If we have to redo it, we'll redo it. We've been in the YouTube business now for, what, 8 years, and we've never really chosen an attachment brand. We just haven't found what we thought was the right combination, and we hadn't until now, and I believe this is the one. This is tractorbasics.com. You get a 10% discount if you use code TTWT. Yep, 10%. More than the typical 5. Again, they're American made. They're available only online, not from a dealer. They're cost competitive. They're simple, but at the same time, they're effective. So you're going to be seeing more of these attachments in the future. We've had a lot of requests from viewers to show some basic attachments and give some detail about, how to use them, when to use them, when to seek something else, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, a land plane, I always viewed it as a unitasker, a tool that really only has one task. They call it a land plane, but yet I really think of it as a driveway grader, right? It's not, to me, I'm not going to use it out in the dirt. I know some people do, but I just think it's best suited for this scenario that we're using it in. But what I've been trying to show and illustrate, not only for you guys, but also for me, is that it has some flexibility as far as what it can do in driveway grading, right? By thinking about what you're doing, you can actually use this device in different ways to move rock further than just, from the edge to the center of your driveway. I still think it's mainly useful for driveway grading, but I think it's probably the best attachment for that purpose. Now, one other thing we need to do when we're grading a driveway is put a crown in it. If your driveway already has a crown, if you'll drive on the right side of the road all the time, these blades will continue to pull the rock slightly to the left, and you'll be able to maintain that crown. So really you'll have to do nothing to maintain a crown if you've got a good one already. By the way, if you're just beginning, a crown is a hump in the center of the driveway, and that allows the water to run off to each side. The biggest challenge for long-term driveway maintenance is water. You've got to get the water off of your driveway. Anytime water stands on the driveway, that's where a chuck hole puddle will develop. If you don't have a good crown in your driveway, what I would do is I would put the right-hand arm, lift arm, down a little bit, okay? So that'll make the blade dig in just a little more on the right hand than the left. Then you'll need to pick up with your 3-point just a little bit so that that left-hand side is indeed lifted just a little bit. And then those angled cutter blades will again direct all that rock to the middle. Hope that makes sense. If you've got a top and tilt kit, meaning you can tilt your side arm hydraulically, that will make it somewhat easier. But really not that much in this particular situation, because it's always the right-hand arm that would need to be lowered a little bit, if you use this approach. So it really isn't that much valuable it really isn't that much of a value to have the hydraulic top and tilt over doing it mechanically for this particular purpose. Now from my standpoint, it just keeps getting better and better, right? I'm seeing more and more loose, big rock on top, just like I want, and more grass being pulled out. And overall, the driveway is getting smoother. So like I say, you can just do this until you get your heart's content of tractor driving for a day. Well, maybe you better not try to do it that long, because it might be well after dark by then. Now, let me show you another way to empty your box. Maybe this is obvious, maybe it's not to you, but if you will, you have position control on your 3-point hitch like a 1025R does. You should be able to very slowly and very gently raise that 3-point hitch, right? So you can see I'm slowly dumping the box by raising the 3-point hitch. That's how it's done. Right? So it's not easy. You have to have space to be able to do that. Some of this is hard to teach in video because you just kind of have to learn it and practice over time. Good news is you're out in your driveway. If you mess it up a little bit, you just try again. But if you can master filling your land plane without taking all the rock from where you wanted it, and emptying your land plane where you need to put rock, or emptying it really gently over a distance, then you will be a land plane boss. No question about it. And the good news is that if you make a mistake or leave a pile of rock, well, just do some more work. Just keep working at it. You'll have plenty of opportunity then to fix it. It's not like once it's kind of messed up, it's messed up forever. Just keep working at it until you get it to suit. And if you can get it down to a small enough area, you can always grab a rake and do some finishing. Now, to that end, there is a better tool for final finishing, and that is a harrow. I don't think I'm going to show you that in this episode, but I do like the harrow that I get from AmericanHarrow.com, again, code TTWT. That harrow does a really good job of just getting rid of those last little ripples that sometimes are in your rock, and you just can't go wrong with that. So if you can afford it, a harrow can make a wonderful complement to a land plane for your driveway grading needs. I hope you've enjoyed it. Check out TractorBasics.com. I think we've got to start to a really good set of American-made attachments. I'd appreciate it, and I think they'll be well suited for you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. You have made known to me the paths of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence.